And welcome back. We're ready to step into the first of the Ages of Myst. This is the Channelwood age to start off with. And here we are. So, I guess the first impression that you're left with is this is by a fair margin the noisiest age. It's got lots of ambient sound. Really good illustration of how much more alive these places seem with the good sound design. So there's all sorts of critters and things you can hear. You can also tell that the Miller brothers are from Washington State, just from the decor, as it were, all of the tall conifer trees. I've actually been to a place in near Vancouver that had a setup similar to this. They weren't in the water, but they had this sort of catwalk affair going on. Alright, so we're going to move along these boardwalks, and, oh, look at that. That's an addition to the game that they did not have in the original game, because it just wasn't an option in the more static environments that they had, was to have, actually see some of the wildlife as well as hear it. So another thing I should probably mention is that as we're moving along these boardwalks here, you can't fall off. I know there are lots of games where that is a possibility, but the failure conditions in oh, that's locked. The failure conditions in a Myst game are not as brutal as that. They tend to be much more intellectual. So falling off a cliff is not going to be a problem in this game, or falling off a narrow boardwalk, as the case may be. So we've got all these pipes running along here, and I'm just sort of following them back to the source. This one little rocky island. There's a pump system, or something drawing the water in. Yeah, there you are. And if you feel like it, you can interrupt the water flow. I've never actually understood what purpose this lever serves. It doesn't appear to do anything apart from shut the water off, and you can hear that, but you can't look up at the same time. But in any case, we need all the water we can get. What I'm going to do is turn the faucet. And now that sound, again, listening is going to be really, really important in Channelwood. Listen to the sound of the running water. It's going to dominate everything else. So we did not hear that before. And so in the pipework, there's these junctions. So notice if I follow the pipe this way, I still hear the flowing water. If I follow this way, it fades out. So that tells us which way the water is going. Now we'll follow it to where it is going for a moment. And it's flowing to this little machine here, which you can now hear is running. It's a sort of a generator. Alright, but not anything we can do anything with, so let's turn the water flow back that way and see where it takes us. So there's a large network of pipes on this level, and it's worth noticing. And you'll have read allusion to this in the journal for Channelwood Age as well. There's a whole lot more to see up there. So let's follow the pipework and see what we find. There's an empty space over there. Aha! Another lift. So presumably need the water to go that way. So this means the water is now flowing that way, and it's cut off this way, just so that you're clear on how that works. Alright, so we needed to go that way again. As an example of, you may not be able to fall off cliffs, but in this new motion system they have in realMyst, it can be a little problematical getting through some of the tight doors. Obviously the environments in the original game didn't have to worry about that so much because you were just going from sort of still to still image. But you will, and I probably will, have a few instances while doing this Let's Play where I'll get hung up on the door frame, if I haven't already. There we go. Now we're on the upper level. Very distinctly different ambiance. You can hear birds, but you can't hear the frogs or the water anymore. Quite beautiful, actually. Yeah, they've, just as an interesting tourism note, there's a place in Vancouver called Capilano Canyon that has a kind of walkways through the trees arrangement like this. Is quite lovely. Okay, so this sort of pagoda thing I'm in right now is kind of one of the nexuses of the catwalk network, and connects to these sort of houses in between. Now, fair warning right now, there are some things that need finding up here, but because there are so many of these little round pagodas and so many pathways, it can be very, very easy to get disoriented. To a degree, that's true on the ground as well, just trying, because there's so many forks in the road. But it's, you know, except that you're going to get lost once in a while as you go along. And indeed, you're just going to have to wander around and find out what there is to find out. So, there's plenty. You know, there's not an awful lot to see. I mean, you know, the view is awesome, and there is a material culture here that was described in the journal to a degree. Making your way around here. Aha, this is what we were looking for. So there's this lever. So you want to look at what I'm looking for is a view of this sort of spiral staircase that goes down that tree over there. And this lever, alright, so click on it once and that just sort of gets us into the ready position to see what it's going to do. Pull the lever, opens that door. So that's going to save us a step and later and kind of spare us a bit of a chicken and the egg dilemma, because now that's opened a door that just leads to the spiral staircase, so we don't have to, if we want to get up to this level, we don't have to worry so much about the elevator, because we're going to need that water supply someplace else. So now the tricky bit is, can I get up there? There we go. So it's a bit eerie. I mean, it looks like people live here, but no sign of where they are. Alright, so there's the open door, and that'll just take us back to ground level, and here's another lift. So again, this part, especially with these motion controls, is, you know, constant moving the mouse, panning the mouse to the left, and pushing W to move forward. It can get a little, certainly makes me dizzy. Alright, so there we go. And we're back on ground level again. Alright, so we've made it up to the sort of the main above ground level. And now that we can get up there without using an elevator, we can divert the water elsewhere. So what about that lift that was next to the top of the stairs? Let's have a look at that. Again, I reiterate, you cannot fall off, but at the same time, you're going to either get stuck up against the tree trunk or against the edge of the stairs. You know, a little bit of a headache. Alright, so we rerouted the water to the generator that runs this lift, which is the generator's on the ground. And make sure the cursor's in the right form to interact with the door. Now this one's going to take us up another level. You can't really, I remember it took us a while to find this initially because it wasn't immediately obvious there was another level up there. Because part of it, again, this is the advantage of the 360 motion controls, is that you can look up, which we couldn't do in the original game. So there's a smaller environment up here. Whoa. Let's anyone guess what that meant. This is rather a mysterious chamber, put it mildly. And it's booby-trapped, isn't that exciting? Okay. But that was a hologram again of our friend who left the message in the four-chamber on Myst Island. What it meant is not for us to know. I think it was directed at whoever lived in this age. And this other building. Somebody forgot to lock up. So it's living quarters, and yikes, that's a little unnerving. I don't know if this is a mistake or not, but I feel like there's a glitch in the sound design in this stage of the game, because in the original game, when you watched these little messages, which again are mostly just most of them are just in the interest of showing that there is a history between the characters that we've met and the world that we're in this world that we've traveled to. The background noise would cut out, so we could listen to them and focus on them, and it, it then doesn't do that now. We've still got all of the bird song and creaking in the background, which is a little distracting, which is kind of too bad. But so there's three of those same messages, that like the one we saw in the other room, and then there's this. Well, that was a little sinister, and incidentally, that was another re-recording of a video that was in the original game. Oh, and talking of pages, I just right-click to get away from that. There's the blue page. Ha 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 ha. So we can go back to one of those guys in the book, and just possible, I think we were talking to one of the ones, the guy from the other book in that imager. So I don't know if it's immediately obvious, but I should point. But it should be becoming obvious by now that the messages that we're finding are not meant for us. You are not. You find the note for Catherine and the message for Catherine, but you're not playing Catherine. You're. The fandom expression in Myst for the player character is the stranger, because that's what you are. And you remember, of course, that the guys in the red and blue books, of course, the first thing both of them say is, "Who are you?" Oh, this is much better. Okay. Although, really somebody hasn't been in here for a while. These rooms. We're going to see a couple of places like this as we go along. But the rooms like this is where the designers of the game really just let rip and did some amazing things, like the aesthetic, the sort of bric-a-brac, the woodwork. I mean, it just is such a. It's part of the classic steampunk sort of milieu for one thing, and for another thing, it just is gorgeous. Like woohoo, very sinister. And again, it's worth going around to poke around in things. You're not necessarily going to find everything you're going to find isn't going to be game critical, but some of it is. Okay, so there's half a message here, and this is another case where it's important to write stuff down. So, we've got half of an instruction. Well, it stands to reason at some point there's a good chance we're going to find the other half. But it's to your advantage to write down what there is, copy that down maybe, and keep it on hand for later, because it may be significant. So I can get away from that just by panning to the edge of the screen and making it move over a little bit. And you can also close the drawers if you want. Don't want to let anyone know we're here, I guess. And occasionally you got a drawer that has nothing in it, but you can open it just to tease you a little bit. Aha, and there's a red page. So, okay, so I did that on purpose. Worth mentioning, you can only pick up the red page or the blue page at a time, which means that if you want to bring red and blue pages both to the books, the two books on Myst Island, you've got to come to each age twice. That's kind of a pain in some of them, as we'll see later. It's not so bad in Channelwood. Getting in and out of Channelwood is actually pretty straightforward, but once you know how. But it will be an issue later, and so I'm going to. I will not record coming back to get the blue page. You're gonna, as we add pages to the books, you'll get incrementally more of the testimony, I guess, of the characters, and it will get kind of repetitive for a Let's Play to do that over and over and over again. So I'm going to
I hope I pushed the right button. Very interesting device. I'm not erasing anything important, am I? He is prepared. Remember, take only one page.
That just happens automatically every time you come into the room, depending on which message in that little recording device, that very interesting recording device, you left engaged when you were in there last. Although it used to only work when you came in one door, but not the other. So. So as I was saying, we'll in this Let's Play, I will keep adding the pages to the red and blue books, and then we can watch the culmination of that, which will be the most pertinent thing. So that's all there is to see in this environment, and there's nothing much to it but to head down again. Of course, a pertinent question at this stage is if we've explored and we found the red and blue pages and some environments that are rather instructive. The question is, what do we do? How are we going to get out of here? So that will necessitate a little more exploration. And you come up with your own hypothesis while you're playing the game, or you might go through a few of them. I mean, my dad actually once compared Myst to Lost, and it's a fair comparison in that it keeps it open-ended in a way that it's especially when it was this far removed from our experience of other fantasy and mystery stories. It left our minds open to really play with interesting possibilities, and one of them was kind of born of the fact that these worlds that we're visiting are referred to in the journals in Myst as ages. And if you look around, well, we got nice big tall trees, got this sort of spur of rock with a kind of a tower arrangement on it. I remember one of our early theories was that I'm just going to have to send the water the other way. Because it's only going one way the other direction. Was that what we were actually doing was traveling in time, And the reason they were called Ages is we were seeing Myst Island at different stages in its history. And Channelwood was a big part of why we thought that, because it does kind of look the part. Alright, so the water this way kind of goes, it's a dead end over there, and there's a big gap in the pipe over there, so that's not going to get us anywhere much. So we'll try putting it the other way. And if you ever get confused, I mean, it's a simple matter of just go for a quick wander around and then, you know, backtrack until you can hear the water flowing again. That's it's not too difficult. So, well, there was something over here, but it's wrecked. And again, that is part of the story, which if you read the Journal of Channelwood, you see what happened to it. I won't go into that now. But yeah, we actually thought maybe this was time travel we were doing. We'll see how that hypothesis holds up. Okay, now we have a bridge. That's a handy feature. And another lift. So this is not one of the lifts we've used. And I have to say, they actually did quite a smart thing. It's subtle, but the different the two different elevators, the three different elevators, I guess, have slightly different wood textures, just in case you ever get confused as to which one you're looking at. It's easy to think about. Alright, so obviously this one's not getting any power because the water's going the wrong way. So we got to go back around again. Kind of a nice place. I wouldn't mind holidaying here, actually. Alright, so we reroute the water. That bridge is up. It's going to stay up, so that's not going to be an issue. So we make our way back to somewhere where the water is flowing, and now we got to redirect it again. And running out of options for where to redirect it, so... I can't use that elevator because it's gone up already, so that's not going to help us any. Alright, so the water's running out there. The only problem is it's just running back into the, presumably the ocean again. There we go. We just cycle back across the bridge here. So you may be forming your own hypotheses about the nature of the environment by now. I actually considered doing this Let's Play in character as the stranger, but it just required more concentration than I was going to be able to spare. Alright, now we see how it is. This again is kind of a nice touch. They couldn't animate the water coming out. You just had to deduce that was what was going on. So you know, as I'm trying to make the point throughout here that there are upsides and downsides to this, to the realMyst improved version, but it did allow them to add a couple of little nuances that the original game graphics situation just wasn't possible in those days. All right, so you can hear the engine on this thing thrumming again. At last. All right, so close up. You actually do have to. I think you actually do have to close the door on these lifts. And here we are. Alright, and that's our Myst book. That's our ride back to Myst Island. And you always the linking books are always very distinctive looking, but the ones that link to Myst are the only ones that actually have the name written on them for some reason. But back we go. Okay, so we're back, and we got to go looking for another place of protection soon, but we'll do that after a break, and I've got to go back to Channelwood and get the other page for the blue book as well, so we'll see you shortly.